Hi, I'm Panic at the Costco, and I haven't been gone for 6 months, you have. I've been writing for a long time. I started in 2017 before I was good at doing anything, and I've continued to this day. So in this video, I'm going to review everything I've ever written that I can find, and skip the things that I either can't find or don't make sense. Which could be all of them. Now, technically, my first example comes after my first writing, but I'm going to do my first writing second and this one first. So I couldn't find the actual paper that I made this on, but I'll give you a summary of what it was and then I'll tell you the story. So I was at a school and we were given pieces of paper and I put it on the paper and then I had it. And that was pretty cool. But, of course, not all things that were cool in 2018 are still cool now. So here's a summary of the story. Tell me if this makes any sense to you. So there's this guy, he looks like this, and he has blue eyes, which means he's good. And then there's a different guy who looks like this, and he has red eyes because he's bad. And the story happens across 3 pages, and this guy's tower gets destroyed, and he's dead. But then at the end, we find out he's not actually dead, and it says to be continued, but then it never was. And that's what I consider to be the first thing I ever wrote. A 3-page piece of garbage that had a non-conclusive ending and was never continued. I really hope that isn't the theme of this video. The next thing I wrote, which I actually wrote before the thing I just talked about, but I make the rules here. This is my YouTube channel. And you don't make the rules here, because this is my YouTube channel. The next thing I wrote was a series of Minecraft fan fictions, which was actually better than the thing I just talked about, which is why I'm putting it afterwards, even though I wrote it before. Now, these are wrapped in plastic because these are mint condition. If I sent these into PSA, they would be worth thousands of dollars. But I didn't, so they're worth nothing. The story of how the Witherstorm was created is a very long title, and it kind of gives you an insight into how young I was when I made this, but I'm going to read some of it to you because the chapters are only like 1 or 2 pages each, and most of the pages are just like filled up with images, and we'll see what you think. Chapter 1, The Adventure. This is Steve, and that's the entirety of page 1. He liked going to the Nether, but guess what he really wanted to do? He wanted to build the legendary Nether. Now, the Nether is not a mob in Minecraft. I think it's a name someone made up for the Wither holding a command block that turns into the Witherstorm from Minecraft Story Mode. I don't think they ever say it in Minecraft Story Mode. But it would take him a long time because he had to collect Wither Skulls in a command block. Wither Skulls were hard to get because Wither Skeletons are rare, and they don't often drop skulls. And he would have to have cheats turned on for command blocks. This was going to be difficult. Soul Sand would also be tricky because he would sink into it and suffocate. First, he had to battle a ghast, and then he had to battle 18 zombie pigmen that were after him because he had punched one by accident. After that, he had to kill 3 blazes, which was difficult because he had 9 fireballs coming at him at the same time. Then he had to battle a giant magma cube. Finally, he found his way to another fortress to kill 3 Wither Skeletons, and he got his Wither Skulls. I guess it wasn't very difficult. The next part would be harder, getting the command block. See how difficult this is? Chapter 2, The Command Block. He turned on cheats, then he went to the chat bar. He did /give at a command block. He got it. You see how difficult that was? Must have been so hard for him. Then he placed the soul sand block, and on top of that he placed the command block. Then, on both sides of the command block, he put soul sand blocks. He then put 2 Wither Skulls on the soul sand blocks. Then he did the final step. He put the Wither Skull on the command block. The Witherstorm spawned. Steve was surprised by how large it was. He thought he was just building a normal Nether. He had built the Great Witherstorm. Oh no. Chapter 3, The Defeat. There was a problem. When Steve battled the Witherstorm, his diamond sword broke. He crafted a new diamond sword. He also crafted a shield to protect himself. And I don't know if you can see this here. I put the wrong recipe for shield. Chapter 4, The Battle. The sun was starting to set. He had to move quickly. He quickly aimed his bow at the Witherstorm's head, and bam! He shot the Witherstorm straight in the eye. It was very exciting and dangerous. Thanks for telling me. The Witherstorm's health went down a bit. Bam, bam, bam. He shot 3 more arrows at the Witherstorm. All of them hit the Witherstorm in the head. Its health went down a lot. About an hour later, the Witherstorm was on its last piece of attack run. Only 4 more arrows into the Witherstorm's head and it would be dead. Finally, he struck out 4 more arrows, all hitting in the head at the exact same time. The Witherstorm's health went down to 0. It was interesting, the Witherstorm still didn't die. He struck out 1 more arrow, the Witherstorm's body started decaying, its tentacles started falling off. Finally, a bunch of lasers shot up in the air and then they disappeared. The Witherstorm was gone. It dropped experience points. He killed it. It was gone. He had defeated the Witherstorm. He wondered why he wanted to create it in the first place. At least he had killed it. I never figured that part out. I don't know why he wanted to create it. I added that so I could get out of having to explain why he wanted to create it. I remember that. Chapter 5, The Celebration. He went to the crafting table because he wanted to craft fireworks to celebrate. He crafted the fireworks. He got a bow, 7 cobblestone, and 1 lump of redstone, also known as redstone dust or redstone. 1 lump of redstone, also known as redstone. He used those materials to craft a dispenser. He put the fireworks in the dispenser. He crafted a button out of a wood plank block. He placed the button next to the dispenser. He pressed the button. Boom! The first firework exploded. It let off blue light. Boom! He pressed the button and the second firework exploded. It was glowing reddish pink color. Boom! The last firework exploded. It was a really bright green color. Chapter 6. Uh-oh. It was getting dark, so he went home. Then he noticed that his home wasn't there, and there was a big hole in the ground. He knew what had happened. When a Witherstorm dies, 3 withers spawn and shoot wither bombs. I don't know why he didn't think of that before. Seemed a little early for celebration if he already knew that was going to happen. The wither bombs can destroy any blocks in Minecraft except bedrock. Wither bombs also give you a soul-destroying poison called the Wither Effect. That's why he was glad he wasn't there when his house was destroyed. Then he saw it. 3 withers, and they were heading his way. He pulled out his sword and the shield he crafted while battling the Witherstorm. Then he realized he didn't have his bow anymore. He either dropped it when he went to his house, or it broke. Then he saw a stick on the ground. It was part of his bow. Chapter 7, The Friend. Once the withers were gone, he saw some houses in the distance. He also saw a tall tower made of cobblestone. He knew it was a village. He walked over there since he didn't have a house anymore. Of course, he could not sprint because he was very hungry. He supposed that there were some butchers in the village that would trade him cooked meat and farmer villagers that would trade him bread, cake, and cookies. He went to the village and heard the annoying sounds of the villagers. He saw a blacksmith shop and knew that there was treasure inside, but it was the middle of the night, so he couldn't go inside. There are no torches in blacksmith shop, so there could be a mob in there right now. He found the church and went inside. He knew that inside churches there were beds, torches, and windows. He went up to the 2nd level and saw the bed and slept. He woke up and looked out the window. He saw the happy village butcher chasing pigs with an axe. He saw the cleric getting out his pickaxe to go get ores to trade, which is not what clerics do. He saw the farmers going to the farm to harvest food. He saw blacksmiths going to the blacksmith shop to hammer out some stuff. He also saw the Nizit villagers going to make maps. They're called nitwit villagers because they're bad at stuff. I don't know where I got that notion from. He noticed something very cool in a little house with no roof. He saw a villager with glasses on, with black wool behind him. The villager was holding an ink sac. He saw a picture of the world on the wall, and he saw a bunch of baby villagers sitting down. He knew at that second that it was a school. He went down to the blacksmith shop, took the treasure, and then went to explore the rest of the village. It was a coastal village. Inside the chests were obsidian, gold, bones, and a saddle. Next, he went to the school. He met a baby farmer, and after school, they walked home to the church together and became friends. The end. So, what did you think of that? Soon after, which was literally like the week after, I wrote a sequel called The Nether Battle. So let's see what this one's about, because looking at the cover, I can already tell this is something that's never been in any iteration of Minecraft. Chapter 1, The Village, and then I put in parentheses, continuing from the last book. Steve was working in the village with Farmer, which is the baby villager's name, when he saw a biome he had not gone in before, a jungle. He said bye to Farmer and went in. Soon he found a jungle temple. He went inside and found the chest. He opened it. 10 blocks of obsidian and 4 cobblestone, enough to make a nether portal. Now he explored around to get the next chest. In the next chest there was an iron and flint, enough to make a flint and steel to light the nether portal. I'd like to remind you that in the last book, Steve went to the nether to get wither skulls, and as well as fight Ghast and zombie piglin. So he for sure already has a portal, and he's just trying to fill space. He went in and spawned above a nether fortress. Luckily, he had brought his potions of fire resistance and fire protection armor because there was a blaze behind him. Now, all of you not Minecrafters out there might not know this, but all 3 ingredients to make a fire resistance potion, nether wart, blaze powder, and magma cream, all come from the nether. There's no other way to get it. The blaze shot and he drank his potion. He got his bow out and shot the blaze. The blaze attacked again and Steve threw snowballs, weakening the blaze. He pulled out his hand dispenser and shot a TNT, and then he ran. The TNT blew up, destroying the blaze. And then he found the entrance to the, I'm gonna guess it says fortress. Nether fortress. He landed in the nether wart room and collected some of it, which he already did to get the fire resistance potion. He went up the stairs in the nether wart room and found a chest. He opened it and found a golden chest plate, a blaze rod, which you can't get in chests, and a flint and steel. He turned around just in time to see a wither skeleton coming for him. He destroyed it, dropping a wither skull, which is a really rare drop, which you'll remember from the last book where he went to the nether and fought a wither skeleton. He kept going down the nether fortress hall, passing every pigman and nether wart room until he came out on the other side of the nether fortress to an end portal. He found 12 Eyes of Ender in his inventory and activated the end portal, knowing that he would come back eventually. He went the opposite direction from the end portal and still had fire resistance, so he jumped off and fell into the lava. He swam out and climbed up a mountain using the gravel elevator trick, jumping and placing gravel underneath you. That's just building up. The gravel elevator trick is where you place gravel, which falls over a high drop until it reaches you, and then you stand on it and dig down. That's a gravel elevator trick. He climbed up, and when he got to the top, he saw a Ghast. He took out his bow. The Ghast shot a fireball. He deflected it back with his sword. It hit the Ghast, killing it. He kept going, trying to remember which coordinates his portal was at. And then he stepped on a pressure plate, activating a command block below him and teleporting him to a cave. He turned around and saw the lava dragon, which is not a thing in Minecraft. He took out his diamond sword and ran for the entrance of the cave. When he got there were more Ghasts above him. There were also some pigmen who got hit by fireballs, thinking it was Steve who shot the fireballs and started attacking him. Some wither skeletons and a blaze came out of the nether fortress and started attacking him. So, I think I forgot something here, because he just stepped on a command block and teleported to a cave somewhere, but the nether fortress is still right behind him. His potion had worn off, so he didn't have any defense against the blaze, but he still had snowballs to weaken it. He forgot to bring a bucket of milk, so he definitely didn't have any defense against the wither skeletons, which he's already defeated multiple times in both books. The Ghasts all shot fireballs, and Steve's sword was almost broken, so he couldn't deflect them. So he took out his iron sword and started killing the pigmen, which wasn't a good idea because other pigmen in the area were alerted and started coming for him. The lava dragon shot 10 fireballs. Steve shot an arrow at the lava dragon, making it angrier and spawning in his dragon helpers, which are tiny lava dragons. The tiny lava dragons shot 3 fireballs each, making 9 fireballs, all hitting Steve, bringing him down to 1 heart. Sounds like these tiny lava dragons are just blazes, but what did I know? He retreated and hid behind a mountain for a minute. He ate a piece of bread and an apple to make his health come back. Once it was back at full, he went back out and started battling again. He drank a swiftness potion and ran, dodging fireballs. More pigmen came because of the pigmen that he had hit earlier. The lava dragon shot another fireball, destroying a pigman. The pigmen were now helping Steve because the dragon had killed one, making them angry at the lava dragon. There were 8 pigmen and Steve battling the lava dragon. The wither skeletons kept coming out of the nether fortress. Another tiny lava dragon shot a fireball, and Steve broke a lucky block, giving him an enchanted bow. He took out his arrows and started shooting with the bow. It was Infinity 5, so it did a lot of damage. So Infinity only scales up to level 1, and it doesn't do more damage. It just makes your bow never run out of arrows, which is why there's only 1 level of it. Infinity 5 wouldn't do anything better than Infinity 1. The lava dragon shot a lava ball. Steve shot another arrow at the dragon. The arrow and the lava ball hit each other, and both blew up. The arrow blew up too. Steve was running out of arrows. He had to move quickly. He climbed up to the top of the cliff and crafted a new diamond sword. He took out his hand dispenser again and shot down another TNT, blowing up a bunch of wither skeletons. All of the wither skeletons dropped stone swords, which he jumped down and grabbed, and then shot an ender pearl out of his hand dispenser to teleport back to the top of the cliff. He shot more arrows down and kept crafting. He crafted a new bow, another backup iron sword, a shield, and another lucky block. He placed an ender chest down, crafted some arrows of poison, put them in the ender chest. That's just the end of the sentence. He also put the bow in the ender chest. Then he realized that the ghast were shooting at him, and they were about to blow up the ground underneath him. The ghast blew up the ground, making him fall into the lava. Luckily, he put the lucky block down, spawning a fire-resistant donkey. He got on it and did not get hurt on the lava. He went over to the land, attached his donkey to a fence, and went back up. He started shooting at the ghast, destroying them. He shot 5 TNTs down, destroying the lava dragon and the tiny lava dragons. He shot more arrows down, destroying the wither skeleton and the blazes. And he shot another TNT down, destroying the pigmen. I'm going to have to keep the green screen off for this part because there's a lot of green on the cover of this. But this is 5 Great Nights, a Hollow Knight fanfiction I wrote after my video, my favorite games, my failed song, and the worst fanfiction. This is not the worst fanfiction. The worst fanfiction was called Hollow Knight X Male Reader. You can watch that video in the card that I put on the screen a second ago. So 5 Great Nights is a big step up in quality from those other books that I've already told you about, because I wrote this more recently than the others. And it's actually so long that I'm not going to read it to you. I mean, it's only like 25 pages long, but that's a long time to be standing here and reading a book. So I'll just summarize. The 5 Great Knights of Hallownest are sort of like mythical figures in the universe of Hollow Knight, but we know that they canonically did exist. They are Ogrum, Zamir, Drya, Isma, and Hagamel. Isma is now a tree in the sewer. Ogrum is now the dung defender in the sewer. Drya is a corpse in the Queen's Gardens. Hagamel is gone, but his armor is what the false knight is wearing. And Zamir is the Grey Mourner, who is in the resting grounds. I decided to take some creative liberties and write what I think happened. So the basic story is like Ogrum becoming a knight, Drya, Isma, and Hagamel are already knights. And then Zamir shows up and she has her whole thing with the traitor's child, which I'm not going to explain right now. Or ever. I'm never going to explain it to you. You can just look it up. It's not complicated. So it is better than the other 2 books, but it's still not great. Like, I read it again recently. It's not as good as I remember it being. Alright, break time means I get to sit down. We're going to read some hate comments. So a while back I made a video called Ranking All of the Webloons and My Singing Monsters, and it's the only video I've ever made that's ever done well. It has over 300,000 views, which is impressive for me, because I only have like 1. But of course, with a ranking list comes people who don't agree with your ranking list. So I'm going to pretend to read some hate comments off of this phone, but I don't remember the password to this phone, so I'm actually just going to read them off my computer over there. Let's get started. And this guy says, "Say something bad to me, I dare you. LLLLLLL. Time to tell your mom." So I don't know what that means. This guy challenged me to a fight because he thinks Dermot is the best, which may seem like a strange occurrence, but then I found out that it happened again. Someone else threatened me because they like Dermot. So do with that what you will. I'm gonna fight this guy. Top 3 worst YouTubers. Number 3, Sniper Wolf. Number 2, Peppa Pig official YouTube channel. Number 1, Denumcraft. If you think that's crazy, they also came back later to say this. Go flip yourself. Well, that's not very nice. You're never gonna believe this. While I was filming that last segment, someone else came to bother me. So after 5 Great Nights, I took a pretty long break from writing, but I came back and wrote 2 more things. As of now, I wrote Adrift Unknown and Better Life, which are the only 2 that are actually bound like real books, and not just printed on sheets of paper. Adrift Unknown and Better Life are about pirates, but not real pirates. They exist in an alternate reality, and it's a canonical alternate reality because the main character comes from the real reality that we live in and travels to the alternate reality where the pirates live. Now, I don't feel like standing here for talking about this, so I'm gonna go sit down and do one of my animated segments that I do for every video, just always, it seems. So let's go do that. A girl from Earth named Eleanor is sucked through an interdimensional rift. She arrives on a small island, but she's taken against her will by two pirates. A guy in armor named Tom thinks that starving her is inhumane, but the captain, Lane, reminds him that they're pirates and that she's done a lot of inhumane things with no remorse. Then, some pirates from the Steel Sight faction show up and Lane is kidnapped. In Chapter 2, Tom releases Eleanor and they go to a town called Burnet, where a bunch of Steel Sight people blow the place up. They break their leader, Marin Dagar, out of jail. We also learn of these Steel Sight soldiers called Mutilators, which are nearly unkillable. In Chapter 3, Tom and Eleanor go to a gross old island called the Deadlands. They meet a ghost named Lychee who tells Tom where the Steel Sight base is, but she takes Eleanor in exchange. Tom returns to the ship, but it's surrounded by a bunch of pirates from Night Raiders. The leader, Horace Gent, tells Tom that they will help him get Lane if he pays them, or else they'll blow up his ship and take his money anyway. Tom agrees and they go to the Steel Sight base. While there, a Night Raiders guy named Lieutenant Aldeck kills a Steel Sight named Valerie Morgan. Tom gets to Lane, but Aldeck betrays him and they're ambushed by Mutilators. Lucky for them, Lychee blasts in with Eleanor and saves them. In Chapter 4, they go to the capital city of Swallowtail. Tom and Lane go to pick up some debt money, while Lane allows Eleanor to go gambling under Lychee's supervision. Eleanor wins a bunch, but she loses against a masked guy. He forces information about Lane out of her, but she refuses and escapes. On the way out of the city, they're attacked by a big Night Raiders ship, and the masked guy returns. He fights everyone, but is thrown overboard. At the end of the chapter, we see a view of a different room where Horace is talking to the masked guy. We learn that he's the true leader of Night Raiders, Damian White. In Chapter 5, they go to a little city called Sashem. While outside of the city, they're attacked by a Steel Sight named Charlotte Reed, who believes Tom killed Valerie. Her life is spared, but she's injured enough to just live in the brig with Lychee. Lane and Tom watch an arena fight as part of a rigged betting pool, but Eleanor recognizes one of the fighters. Lane and Tom collect their money from the organizer, Oren Klein, but Eleanor sneaks off to meet the fighter. She finds her and learns that it's her best friend Corey, who went looking for her and was also sucked through the rift. Corey joins the crew, and Lane begrudgingly allows it. At the end of the chapter, a Night Raiders envoy tells Lane to speak to their leader on an island that she remembers. In Chapter 6, Lane meets the leader on the island. She learns that this man, Damian White, was someone she knew for her entire life, who she thought died 5 years ago. She betrayed him and left him to die on this island, but he survived and founded Night Raiders to take vengeance. Tom saves her from Damian's cane of energy, but she's badly injured. Corey, who was going to medical school before, begins treating her going forwards. In Chapter 7, they're hiding in the north of the sea, which shouldn't be far north enough to be cold, but is frozen because of a magical crystal, but we haven't gotten there yet, so shut up. In Chapter 8, Damian finds them, and there's a huge fight where Lane gets a chunk of her arm torn off, and Damian is shot in the stomach. In Chapter 9, they've fled to an impoverished city called Varygate. Tom tries to save a local man's shop, but the man tells him to stop before somebody gets hurt. Charlotte helps Lane catch food, and Lane likes her now. Charlotte then resigns from Steel Sight while fighting one of their captains. In Chapter 10, Lane is attacked by Damian again, but Marin Dagar, learning of Charlotte's resignation, shows up and ends up killing Tom. The ship is sunk, but Lychee brings everyone to an island. In Chapter 11, Lane manages to contact Damian, and they agree that Lane will willingly hand herself over to him if Damian helps her kill Marin. Damian picks them up, and they go to the Steel Sight base. In the halls, Eleanor is killed by a Steel Sight admiral, Corey is killed by a captain, and Lane and Damian defeat Marin, but die in the explosion from Damian's cane. Outside, Charlotte and Lychee watch as the entire fortress collapses. They're now the only survivors. Back in the real world, Eleanor and Corey both return. Somehow, the deaths only sent them home with some scars, but 3 months have passed. In a small town, Lychee agrees to help Charlotte find a better life. In Chapter 1 of Better Life, Charlie and Lychee are now bounty hunting to raise money. They've been joined by Laz and Aeon, who are there for the same reason. They capture Eric Batur and Stole Ramon, but they don't get much money for it. Charlie decides that it's time for bigger bounties. In Chapter 2, they capture Orjack Monroe, and they get a decent amount of money for it, but the officer that Charlie was turning bounties over to turned her into the authorities for being a former Steel Sight admiral. They flee to a small town, but Charlie is, fooled by a girl named Jasmine, who succeeds in handing her over to the government. In Chapter 3, Lychee, Laz, and Aeon go to the new Night Raiders base. Night Raiders is now led by Avery Carson, who uses one of Damien's old magical tools to locate Charlie. In Chapter 4, they break Charlie and our friend Starla Lamorne out of prison. Oren Klein then returns to make an offer. If they retrieve 4 magical artifacts and bring them to him, he will pay them double what their goal was in money. They agree. In Chapter 5, they go to an ancient temple. Laz and Starla get one of the artifacts easily, but the one that Aeon and Charlie go after sends her into a very long series of flashbacks that last the rest of Chapter 5 and the beginning of Chapter 6. Functionally, they just serve to show how she got to this point. In Chapter 6, after the flashbacks, they're captured by a native tribe. After a former merchant who lives with the tribe gives them a tour, they're allowed to leave. In Chapter 7, they're going after the next artifact, but they're stopped by another member of Oren Klein's mission named Fel Ramos. She and her crew are tasked with the same stone as Charlie's. In the ruins where the artifact is, Fel runs into Horace Gent and a former steel site named Alois Pink. None of them knew that there were any others looking for the stones. Fel manages to get it, and Charlie follows her to the Night Raiders base. There's a huge battle, and Avery decides the fate of Fel's crew. In Chapter 8, Laz is forced to confront his mother he ran away from, Peony Hart. She's the leader of a giant pirate faction called the Marauder's Heart, and he hates her. She never treated him right, but he has to stall her while Charlie gets the final artifact from her ship. Eventually, Peony's right hand turns on her, and Laz gets the artifact. At the end of the chapter, the right hand frees Peony, and she's now going after Laz because she knows something about Oren that he doesn't. In Chapter 9, they bring the artifacts to Oren, but he turns on them, reveals that they won't be getting paid, and attempts to kill them. He's stopped by the Marauder's Heart, but they don't last long. In the end, Peony and Lychee sacrifice themselves to defeat Oren. Aeon and Charlie go to a small residential town where Charlie retires and leaves the ship to Aeon. Alright, so those are my 2 real books, Adrift Unknown and Better Life. I hope you enjoyed, because you're never going to be able to buy them, you're never going to be able to find them, and you're never going to be able to find me. Goodbye forever.